Hi everybody, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about questions to ask a medical biller. If you are like a lot of private practice owners, you most likely are considering or have decided to hire a third party or an outside person to do your medical billing. I'm not saying this is good or bad because everybody's different and has different needs, but I do feel like there are definitely some things that you should ask your billing company or medical biller before you hire them. Please understand that these are not questions to catch all things that could be bad. This isn't to try to catch anybody doing anything wrong, and you'll probably come up with a lot of your own questions as well, but this is just to kind of help get the think tank going so that you can build off these questions. A lot of times when I interview for things, it doesn't matter if it's in my personal life, when I'm meeting someone new, or I'm interviewing to hire a new staff member, I have my basic list of questions that I want to get through, but I also ask more questions based on those answers, because sometimes somebody might give you a generic answer or a good answer, but then you start kind of talking a little bit more specific about that answer, and it ends up maybe not being fully true, or you actually end up learning a little bit more off of that. So always use these as a guide. Like all things when you're hiring, you ask the basic questions of how long have you been doing this, what's your background, what's your education, and some people are really good at their jobs that have no formal education. It's all on the job learning, and I feel that is very valuable in many places in life. I don't feel it's necessary all the time for someone to have a piece of paper stating they're capable of doing a job. I've met multiple people who have a piece of paper telling them that they have some kind of certificate, diploma, degree to be able to do something, and they're terrible. And then I have met many people who do not have a formal degree, but life on the job experience, and they're amazing at their job. And I'm not saying it couldn't be the other way around for either circumstance, but I'm just saying don't put a lot of clout on that education for a lot of the things. Of course, some aspects, some responsibilities do need to have that education, but just keep in mind that it's not always as good as it sounds. So with that being said, definitely ask about their experience, ask about their background, ask how long they've been doing it, find out if they were the main biller or if they were helping other billers, because sometimes if someone's coming from a team or they're starting their own business and they used to work with another business as a staff member and now they decided to branch off and start their own business, they might not have the realization of being a sole biller or being responsible for more things, because maybe they just were responsible for working AR, or they were just responsible for submitting claims or scrubbing claims and submission. Maybe they weren't responsible for the whole revenue cycle when it comes to the billing responsibilities. So you want to make sure that you really firmly understand their background and their knowledge base. You also want to ask if they have experience with the payers specific in your area, because if it's someone that works remotely and they might be out of state or maybe in a different part of your state, you just want to make sure that they're familiar with your insurances that you'll be billing, because they have different requirements oftentimes, especially like Medicaid, and workers' comp might be different, motor vehicle. So you just want to make sure that they are familiar with not just regular insurance medical billing, but like I said, workers' comp, motor vehicle, if you plan on billing those. You want to make sure they're familiar with your specialty. That is a huge thing, because sometimes there are catches with certain specialties, with units needing prior authorizations or referrals being required. and you want someone who knows that up front so that they know if they need to include that documentation with the claim submission, if they need to include medical records. You want someone who's not learning as they go, because if you're like most private practices, even brand new private practices too, you don't have a lot of room for error in billing, because you need that money to be coming in as fast as possible, because you need to be able to pay your bills and really start be able to develop that little financial nest egg, because you've put a lot of money up front to get it started. Also, you want to make sure that they do all parts of billing, or at least ask what specific services in billing they don't offer. So there are a lot of billing companies that won't deal with patient balances. Like if a patient calls and has a question on their account, they ask the practice to handle that. They don't actually speak to patients. You might have a billing company that doesn't do any kind of coding or scrubbing of claims. They just submit, work AR, work denials. You might have a company who doesn't let you have access to the billing system. That is a question to ask. If you were to hire them, what kind of visibility do you have into your account? Are you able to run financial reports whenever you want to, or do you have to ask them to run it for you? Personally, I like the ability to be able to run financial reports whenever I need to. I don't want to have to ask somebody to run it for me. You'll want to make sure that you ask them if they're open to meeting with you weekly, at least in the very beginning while you're getting running and going. Because if you've watched some of my other videos, I feel it's very important that managers of practices, owners of practices meet with the billing specialist who's in charge of the practice billing, and to find out if there's any kind of trends and denials, if you're seeing any major issues that could be fixed upstream so that they're not affecting your billing downstream. So you need to find out how comfortable they are and willing they are to meet with you on a regular cadence and to provide you with the information that you're going to want. You also need to ask them how they communicate with you. Is it through email, text message, phone calls? How soon do you expect to hear back from them? What kind of commitment can they make to you to be sure that they're being transparent and very good and open communicating with you? I would also ask them how many other clients they have, because you don't want someone who has very few staff members and all these clients, because chances are they probably are stretched pretty thin and might not be able to give your account the type of attention that it needs. So you want to make sure that you're asking them how many staff members they have, even ask about their background and experience, or how they watch over and make sure that their staff is doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? I mean, that's a valid question. And then how many clients they have, and find out, how much time they think they're going to be spending a week on your account. I don't know if your contract will say that or not, but it's definitely good to ask these questions, because then they will know that you're aware and you're going to be on top of them and having expectations for them that they need to fulfill. By asking these kinds of questions, you're letting them know that you're not just going to hire them and take them for granted and let them do whatever they want, that you're still going to have a checks and balances system, that you still have expectations for them to meet, and that you're going to need check-ins and updated information, because your billing is the lifeline of your practice. And if there's issues there, or if your billers are not able to see you as a teammate instead of as someone that bothers them or something, then that could be an issue. So you want to make sure that up front you just let them know your expectations right away. You also would want to ask if they work with a credentialing specialist, or how they would need information sent to them or communicated to them after you're credentialed with a payer, so that they know to bill them or whatever. Like, what is the process for notifying them? You also want to find out that if you were to leave their services, what information you get to take with you. What kind of documents, software information, that kind of stuff that you get to take, and how they give it to you, and like what form, on a USB, is it all paper? Because you want to make sure that, not that you don't want to be with them forever, but sometimes things happen and you want to just have that checked out ahead of time. Hiring a medical biller is really big, and don't get that confused with hiring a coder. That is another question you can ask too. Like, do you offer coding services and medical billing? Maybe you have to pay for them separately. And coding is very important. Having a certified coder is very important that have to keep up on their CEUs and the changes, because coding is what helps you with getting your money, but also making sure you're not fraudulently billing either. So, ask that question. If you have hired a billing company and you've gone through this process and you have some tips or suggestions for your colleagues, please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much, you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.